What actually connects your favorite chocolate chip cookies, your morning shampoo, and biofuel? I know, it sounds like a completely random mashup of household stuff, right? You've got your sweet snack, your daily hygiene routine, and the literal fuel powering modern transport. But surprisingly enough, there is a single, massively in-demand crop from Southeast Asia tying all of them together. And that crop is palm oil. Here's the wild part, though. The global supply of this stuff rests almost entirely on one nation's shoulders. Indonesia supplies more than half of the entire world's palm oil. Just think about that for a second. Over 50% of a global commodity that you and I use almost every single day comes from the plantations of just this one country. Talk about absolute market dominance. So, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking exactly how Indonesia built one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, complex agricultural empires on Earth. We're going to explore how they became the undisputed king of palm oil, what makes this specific plant so incredibly valuable, and why it's simultaneously praised and, well, heavily criticized all over the globe. Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the palm oil phenomenon, move into Indonesia's geographic advantage, check out the harvesting supply chain, and then look at the economic powerhouse versus balancing growth and environment. All right, part one, the palm oil phenomenon, or as it's often called, the world's most versatile oil. To really get this industry, we've got to understand the product itself. Palm oil is a vegetable oil squeezed right out of the fruit of the oil palm tree. But its uses, they go way, way beyond the kitchen. Sure, you've got your pantry staples like cookies, ice cream, and instant noodles, but then it sneaks right into your bathroom in soaps, shampoos, and lipsticks, and then out into your driveway as biofuel. You are likely using this invisible ingredient every single day without even realizing it. Its versatility is, quite frankly, unmatched.
So why palm oil and not, say, soybean or sunflower oil? Well, it all comes down to ruthless efficiency. It's just simple math. The oil palm boasts the absolute highest yield per hectare. We're talking several times more oil on the exact same plot of land compared to its competitors. It's a total masterclass in agricultural efficiency. You get way more bang for your buck, which keeps those production costs incredibly low.
Which brings us right to Section 2, Indonesia's geographic advantage and their perfect climate for cultivation. If this plant is so efficient, why did Indonesia become the absolute epicenter for it? Well, they basically won the geographic lottery. Sitting right on the equator guarantees them warm temperatures all year round, combined with tons of rainfall and endless sunlight. It's literally the perfect recipe for growing oil palms. Because of this, the trees grow fast and they pump out fruit continuously, 365 days a year. Plus, Indonesia has the massive tracts of agricultural land you need to support these giant plantations. But, it takes more than just sunshine and rain to build a global empire. Over the last few decades, intense government backing and huge private investments turned those natural advantages into an absolute juggernaut. Today, millions of Indonesians rely on palm oil to put food on the table. We're not just talking about massive faceless corporations here. This is a whole ecosystem. It's smallholder farmers working their own plots, it's plantation workers, truck drivers, refinery operators, all the way up to major global exporters.
Moving on to Section 3, the harvesting supply chain. Let's trace how this stuff actually gets from a tropical tree to the global market.
The day-to-day logistics here are actually fascinating. It kicks off with intense manual labor. Workers use these super long bladed poles to chop down giant bunches of fruit, and these things can weigh up to 50 kilograms each. From the second it hits the ground, it's a literal race against time. Trucks have to rush the fruit to nearby mills before it spoils. That's where this old-school low-tech harvesting meets high-tech industrial processing. The fruit gets sterilized, separated, and pressed into this really distinct golden red crude oil before being refined and shipped out across the globe. Thousands of tons moving through this exact chain every single day.
Let's pull back to the big picture for Section 4, the economic powerhouse. This is all about fueling a nation.
When we talk about fueling Indonesia, it really boils down to one word: billions. With a B. Palm oil is easily one of the country's most vital economic engines, generating billions of dollars in export revenue year after year. They're shipping this liquid gold across Asia, Europe, Africa, the Americas, you name it. Everywhere it lands, it's turned into food manufacturing, consumer goods, and energy. It's just a staggering amount of global trade resting on this one specific commodity.
And at home, the impact of those billions is huge.
Industry supporters are quick to point out that for countless rural communities, palm oil has been a massive driver for poverty reduction. It's dramatically boosted rural incomes and bankrolled new roads, schools, and hospitals. In the regions where this crop has taken root, it's proven to be a highly efficient way to lift people out of poverty and drive some truly essential local development. But a scale this massive brings us to Section 5, balancing growth and environment, and the intense controversy that comes with it. So we have to look at the whole picture here, and the reality is heavily debated. On one side of the scale, you have those undeniable economic benefits we just talked about: sweeping infrastructure, massive poverty reduction, and crop yields that keep the world fed. But opposed to that are the severe environmental costs raised by critics and environmental organizations. Expanding these huge plantations has been strongly linked to deforestation and serious habitat loss. Look, Indonesia is home to some incredibly unique wildlife: orangutans, tigers, elephants. And figuring out how to protect these fragile ecosystems is a major, deeply concerning challenge. It's a really stark contrast between vital economic uplift for people and a heavy toll on the environment. So, what's actually being done about it? Well, in response to this pressure, the industry is leaning hard into sustainability initiatives. Companies are adopting much stricter eco-certification programs designed to improve both environmental and social standards. It's a massive ongoing effort involving the government, NGOs, big businesses, and even consumers, all pushing to find a way to balance the economic growth people need with the environmental protection the planet literally requires. And that active effort to find a balance brings us to our final section: the future of Indonesian palm oil. So how exactly does the industry meet that exploding global demand without trashing the environment? More and more, the answer is tech. We're talking cutting-edge precision agriculture. They're using drones for digital mapping to tightly manage their footprint, and literally using satellites in space to monitor land use in real time. On top of that, researchers are engineering better planting materials. The big goal? Getting even more oil out of the land they're already farming, so they can drastically reduce the need to expand into any more vulnerable forests. As the world's appetite for food, cosmetics, and renewable energy just keeps soaring, how are we going to balance that endless demand with the desperate need for responsible resources? Finding a way to produce more while actually protecting our planet is, without a doubt, one of the defining challenges of our time. And Indonesia stands right at the center of this global story, bridging the gap between our everyday consumption and the future of sustainable agriculture. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and hey, keep asking the big questions.
Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're mapping palm oil's wild journey from factory to market.
We'll track the whole shebang across 3 phases: extraction, refining, and of course the economic impact. So, Phase 1 kicks off with a massive engineering headache: finding the absolute perfect hydraulic press pressure.
Well, a recent study actually put this to the test, cranking presses to 45, 50, and 55 bar. The trade-off is crazy. Pushing it to 55 bar successfully drops oil loss to just 6.68%.
But wait, that extreme pressure literally crushes the nuts, bumping the broken kernel rate to 2.01%.
So 50 bar is totally the sweet spot, perfectly balancing high oil yield with preserved kernel quality.
Okay, but this crude oil isn't ready for your kitchen just yet. Enter Phase 2, refining. We're looking at 3 simple steps here: removing gums, bleaching out pigments, and finally getting it deodorized.
Physical refining uses pure steam, whereas chemical refining relies on caustic soda, which creates messy soap waste.
That's exactly why physical refining wins. It's the standard because it lowers costs and really minimizes waste. Right, on to Phase 3. We take this fully refined oil straight into a wildly volatile trading market.
Fresh fruit bunch prices in Jambi actually soared, hitting a peak of 3,303 rupiah in June 2026.
Meanwhile, crude oil at the KPBN auction skyrocketed to a massive 14,850 rupiah per kilogram. But these numbers are hypersensitive, reacting instantly to stuff like Malaysian trade holidays. It's a roller coaster.
So how does this volatility actually impact the ground level? Let's check on the farmers in Riau.
The disparity is absolutely shocking. Partnered plasma farmers saw a tiny dip, while independent Swadaya farmers plummeted.
Those independent growers absorbed the brutal reality of massive price drops across both crude oil and kernels. This really highlights the extreme vulnerability of independent farmers compared to those shielded by corporate partnerships.
So how can this massive industry actually engineer true future stability for millions of independent farmers?